Hey all, this is Drew, and it's been a little bit more than a week from the last devlog. It's actually been close to a year. And I haven't worked on Plunder at all. What prompted the most recent set of changes, which allowed me to record this devlog, was an email from Google, which said that if I don't upload an APK to my Google Play account, they're going to close my account due to inactivity. And I'm like, oh crap, okay. So I tried building what I had, didn't work immediately. I had to do some fixes, some updates, and then I got an APK built. I uploaded it to Google Play Console, and I have saved successfully my $25 that I had given Google prior to that email. As a result of this, I actually started doing a lot more, well, not a lot more, but I started doing some work again on Plunder. As you can see here, there's a little bit of work done in December, and then some work done now in the next September 2021. So one of the updates I want to give is to talk about the game design. In the first devlog, I mentioned that the game will largely follow the structure of Astro Kings. To a good extent, that's still going to be the case. However, I had the idea actually in December of last year that it'd be cool if when you approach an enemy base, you get a fight scene sort of a thing where you place your ships and then maneuver your ships in a strategic fashion in order to attack the enemy base and receive the least damage possible to your ships. And this also introduces a base building mechanic on the defensive side, where as you upgrade your city hall or whatever, the buildings, you can decide where to put them and how your defenses are structured so that people don't loot from you as much or plunder you as much. So basically, I'm just adding a splash of Clash of Clans to Plunder. That's the game plan. And in December, I started doing a fight scene, and then I got hung up on the water shader because I was like, you gotta see water and wavy water. So I started diving into educational material on how to make shaders, but it's kind of overwhelming, honestly. So when I picked it up now again, I decided to basically scrap a self-made shader and just grab something that I can find as a placeholder. So I found this app or asset from the asset store, which is running right now. It's the I always forget what it's called. The stylized water for URP. It's actually a very full-featured asset. You can the water itself, basically you apply the stylized water to a mesh, a plane, a large plane, and you've got a lot of settings that you can tweak and get it looking exactly how you like. So I did that, and then here's the asset in the store. It's free. It's made by a guy named Alexander Amai. I guess I'll put a link in the description if you're interested. If you do use it, there is one recommendation that I have. So in the game, actually in both views now, there's this highlight sort of a thing where the water meets a material that goes in below the water, and there's some refraction going on in the surrounding area, and I couldn't get that to display initially in the camera. And the way you do that is in your main camera, you need to make sure you have the opaque texture set to on and the depth texture set to on. By default, it uses the pipeline settings, but that didn't work for me, so I just I changed that, and then it worked. Of course, make sure you're rendering in URP mode, because this asset is for URP. Okay, the other thing I did was input actions. So I took the default input actions that Unity provides, and for the player action map, I basically just scrapped everything and made my own. So the way I did this was the game's going to be a mobile game, so you have to have the touchscreen inputs there. But at the same time, I don't want to have to build an APK every single time and then install it on my phone and then test it out that way. I want to be able to test it directly in the play editor and have controls that kind of map to what you would do in the mobile so that I can test it live, basically, right in front of me without having to build. And to do that, basically, I'm going to have a mouse configuration, keyboard and mouse, mostly mouse, and the touch configuration in the same player action map. So here I have a select, which is basically left mouse button, as well as the tapping on the screen once. You have a cursor position change, which it tracks the new position of the mouse in the window. As also, if you touch and drag, it will, or it should, I haven't tested this yet, it should update the primary touch position, and that can be used for camera panning around in the fight scene. Then we have the secondary touch, which is used to calculate pinches and allow the user in the touchscreen to zoom in and out. And the compatible one for the mouse is the scroll wheel. These are hooked up to C# callbacks, and then I have scripts that on the camera arm that handle this sort of a thing. The only thing I implemented so far was the zooming, and the zooming only for the mouse wheel so far. I'll do the actual touch pinching next. But basically the way it works is the callback gets triggered whenever the mouse wheel is scrolled, and then we have a ratio here which divides, so every time the mouse wheel is scrolled, I get a value of 120 per notch, but that triggers twice for some reason. I'm not quite sure why. It triggers twice for each tick in the mouse wheel rotation. So basically it's 240, and if I move by an altitude of 1 meter every single mouse tick, I feel like that's too much, so I divided that by 2. So you have a ratio of 480, which means that every mouse tick will change the height of the camera by half a meter or so. The camera by default is at 10. I've scrolled this already, so it's a little weird. But the min and maxes are 3 and 10. Now to actually show it, let's change the view here. So if I zoom upwards or move the scroll wheel upwards, it goes inwards up until a certain point when it's about 3, and then if I zoom out, it'll zoom out. Anyways, that's about it for this update, and I'm pretty happy with the small amount of progress I've made in the last year. I'm hoping to work on this project a little bit more frequently, and if I work on it more frequently, that means that the devlog updates will happen more frequently as well. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.